The mysterious incidents surrounding my child have created a web of confusion and fear that reaches far beyond what can be explained. It's a story full of twists and turns, where every new fact seems to contradict the one before it, and instead of shedding light on anything, just pushes me further into the darkness. There was always something about my son that connected us in a way neither of us could understand or put into words. It was like he could feel what I was feeling, read my mind, even when I didn't know what I thought myself. There were times when this felt almost supernatural. It wasn't anything either of us did on purpose, it just happened. At first, his comments seemed no different from any other kid's innocent questions about how things worked or why people did what they did. But as days turned into weeks, turned into years, and as more strange things kept happening around Amari because of him, those questions started sounding less like what if and more like why not. More than once he said something would happen, something impossible for anyone to predict, let alone an 8-year-old. Or at least I thought so until every word he'd said came true. And every time it got harder to sleep at night knowing tomorrow could bring anything from another embarrassing public disaster to the end of the world itself. Because whatever else he might be wrong about, there had never been any doubt in my mind that when it came to these kinds of things, somehow he always knew. But it was his remembrances, vibrant, relentless, and painfully recognizable, that shattered understanding and dropped me into a pit of what on earth am I doing here? Questioning. The memories were mine, yet twisted by passing through his mind. They illuminated parts of my past that had been dormant and forgotten. Then came the disclosures, each word heavy with foreboding about some future disaster. His accidents to atrocities, account of things left me wrestling with doom. Talking to my husband did not help. His skepticism cut through what little sanity remained. I wanted reason to comfort me, but it kept dancing away from comprehension. What rational explanation could there be for the fact that my son's consciousness was entangled with mine? What strange powers made time and space so uncertain between us? As I move around this puzzle of the meaning of life, one thing is certain: I must keep my son safe, and me too, from destiny's evil plans. But when nothing is sure, everything else becomes a whirlpool of doubts that can't be easily answered. Today is a strange day at the airport. I got to the airport several hours early, a practice I've adopted to account for security lines that can be an hour or more long. When I walked into the terminal with my duffel bag slung over my shoulder, no travelers stood in line where there are usually dozens. Where is everyone? There are cars in the parking lot, but inside the terminal feels like a movie set between takes. The departure screens cast their electronic glow over empty queues. Nobody bustles around any check-in counters. No lines form at any of the half-dozen available baggage drops. Walking through this place sent shivers down my spine. To call it empty would be inaccurate. Rather, it's filled with absence of people, of sound, of movement, even security's a breeze. There's nobody in line ahead of me to watch as I unload my pockets and take off my shoes and put my laptop in its own separate bin. Me feeling interested and worried at the same time, I decided to make a quick stopover at Airline Cafe. But to my utter shock, the cafe was empty too. Seeing no staff around to charge me for what I took, I couldn't help wondering, is it still stealing if there's nobody watching? Resisting the urge to capitalize on this opportunity, I opted for a lonely bagel sandwich. Walking towards my gate, I heard my footsteps resounding through deserted halls. Overhead, fluorescent lights buzzed intermittently, casting long shadows that seemed to sway across the tiled floor. Then came a faint hum. It was coming from a restroom door nearby, or rather just beyond it. Standing in front of it gave me pause. Shouldn't there be only one person here? The janitor? Nevertheless, curiosity won out, and I pushed open the door, cautiously bracing myself for whatever might be inside. What I saw inside scared me to death. The hum grew louder and louder, more defined too, bouncing off the tiles like some ghostly chorus. And there he was in the bathroom's half-light. A man who looked about 50 or maybe older. It was hard to say, standing alone and humming to himself as if he were in a trance. I didn't think. I just turned around and ran back toward my gate as fast as I could, but that feeling stayed with me, heavy like fog wrapping around my body. Then, because things weren't creepy enough already, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow ones that definitely belonged to another human being. As I sped up my pace, panic started taking hold of me. The sound of my own footsteps was so loud, but who could be following me? Was I being followed? I didn't want to check by looking back, because there might be something in those shadows. Then he appeared before my gate, the same guy I had seen in the toilet, with an unreadable face and empty eyes that stared into mine like a doll's. And he said nothing as he began running towards me, with both arms stretched outwards ominously. At this point, fear totally consumed me, so much that I dropped my bag and ran without thinking through the airport's twisting hallways. All that mattered was finding somewhere to hide until things made sense again, or at least catching some breaths myself. In one of those maintenance halls where no light enters even during daytime hours later, when it seemed like nobody would save me from this alone and scared state, there still isn't any sign anybody will come. So now all hope is gone for realizing what exactly this means, trapped inside an abandoned airport with someone after my life, whom I do not know their identity, neither can I comprehend why they want me dead. I needed answers, so I tried getting in touch with the airline. But all that happened was a bunch of garbled talking and static. It felt like everything had conspired against me, leaving me here to rot in this dead zone. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, a plane pulled up to the gate, my way out or so I hoped. With hands shaking and heart pounding, I stepped onto the plane praying that it would be over soon. But as we taxied down the runway and took off into the night sky, a sinking feeling washed over me because I knew my journey wasn't finished yet. Because sitting a few rows behind me, there it was again, me, that eerie tune of the guy in the Patagonia quarter zip, serving as a haunting reminder of what awaited me at my destination. And as we flew through the dark, all I could think was, will I ever make it home alive, or am I just another casualty of this sick game? Only time would tell as I prepared myself for what was to come next, while hoping for salvation in a hopeless world.